You have a book titled Adrenal Fatigue, and it's a term that we hear an awful lot. Can you explain exactly what's going on when we have that?
I'm glad you hear that. I coined that term myself. In 1998, I gave this phenomena the name adrenal fatigue, and it was